Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Tonight, I have no plan whatsoever. That's the honest truth. I have been busy. My day job, we've been having some client meetings, and I've been going at 100 miles an hour and late nights and all kinds of stuff and working on house. And so it's been very busy. So I made no plan. But there are a handful of things that I wanted to tackle and dive in on. So we're going to start there. Uh, Here we go. Okay. Wait, this is Velapack. That's not where we're gonna go. This one. Okay, so I was gonna go through this one here was a PR that we reviewed on stream many weeks ago. Um, and then there was some code suggestions here, and then it never actually got updated. I think we're just gonna update it and push it through. I think that's what we're gonna go for. Yeah. So if we go here, the code suggest. So for people who haven't seen it, this is a feature of GitKraken code suggest, and the big idea here is oftentimes when working on a PR, it is very nice to be able to make comments and suggestions that are outside of the diff. Because normally in a PR, you can only comment on, like, for example, if we pick on one of the other material design PRs, right? Like if I go in here, I am only able to comment on areas that are actually part of this diff. If I want to suggest changes or start doing things that are out here, you'll note my comments button disappears, right? I am outside of my diff, and it's not until I get down into this vicinity, right? Because you can see the gray, I don't know if you can see the grayed out region, right? The darker gray areas, right? Once you get into that vicinity, you can no longer comment. You have to actually be part of it. So that's kind of one of the issues. The other issue is if you want to make comments that are on files that aren't in the PR, you just can't, right? So that's what this allows you to do is effectively do code suggestions that exceed the size of the diff. Because oftentimes when I'm talking to people about what is valid for code reviews, I usually tell people anything in the hot path. So the whatever you needed to change to actually accomplish the task, that's fair game. And then one level removed, right? So anything that the hot path calls or that calls into the hot path, I consider fair game for a PR. Because you don't want to be leaving comments that are just kind of out all over the place. But at the same time, there's also that balancing act of, well, this is kind of related, so it's like let's keep everything in that kind of vicinity. So, but this guy here, so we have NuGet versions, which is this little thing here. Let's see, in the XAML, I think this is what didn't get done yet because I left it open as kind of an exercise for learning, but we were going to bind up this text rather than doing code behind. Let's see, and then this guy here for the code behind file. Let's see here. Oh, it's interesting that this one isn't properly rendering the diff. Um, we're being able to pull this through. Wonder why that one's not rendering properly. And then the CS proj, this was the bit that we did on stream that was kind of the most interesting of how can you generate assembly level resources as part of your build process. And this is uh, kind of a trick that I don't know that everybody is aware of being able to leverage this assembly attribute inside of an item group. Part of the .NET SDK looks for this set of items and will write these out in what used to be like your assembly info.cs, who use the old project format. But if you look in your OBJ directory, you will find an assembly info CS file ish. It has the project name on it too, I believe. But it will write these things out as assembly attributes, and then that gets compiled in, and poof, magic occurs. But the advantage here is you can now leverage variables from your build pipeline to be able to bring this stuff in. So it's kind of convenient. And we might do the same thing for the Ma apps one because I think that's a worthwhile thing to show as well. So we're going to do that. I think we're going to commit suggestions. Let's see. I don't even know if I have access here. My big head out of the way. Right. So accepting suggestions. Submit suggestions, and it should just go straight into the branch. And this is going to be the test to make sure I've actually got access to said said PR. Boom. We're gonna jump right back. Let's see. Hey Kevin, how's it going? Going great. Been watching your YouTube videos for a while now. I'm in Eastern time. Oh boy, so it's early morning for you, and I'm always sleeping by the time you stream. Good to see you live. Hey, great. I appreciate the feedback, and yes, I am aware my streaming schedule is horrible for actually not just East Coast US, but most of the globe. Um, hey, Fury. Um, the 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 really challenging part is because I have a family and whatnot. I start my stream after everybody goes to bed, so I'm streaming at 9 p.m. Pacific time, which means the my target audience is English speaking developers, right? And a large percentage of the English speaking developer community is either in bed or on their way to bed at 9 o'clock Pacific. So it's not a great setup. I will admit that. Okay, did that do a commit in? I think it no. Come on. Let's see. Commit suggestions. I don't know if it's gonna let me do this. See, I think I can just open it straight and get Kraken desktop and apply it locally. Boom. Go get Kraken. Go, go, go. Loading. Boom. Bring it out. It's launching. Solving leak to external draft. Finds it. Oh, cool. Oh, that is awesome, Fury. I am glad to hear it. It's always nice when something something actually works out. Let's see. It's going the right way. Sweet. That is awesome. And I think I mentioned before, always feel free if people have questions or whatnot. I definitely do not mind. Let's see. I think because I don't have the remote, I'm going to be in the wrong one if I apply it to master. And I've already got a local with the same stuff. I need to just torch. So I've got myself in a bad state. Let me get myself back into a good state real quick. So we'll get master synced back up. And then what is the pull request? This one here. Check out adding version to pop up. So that is the branch I need to torch or fix. Because I've got too many things in here. This one. This is the one I want to be on. Okay. And then if I can find my cloud patch. See. Not the cloud patch I am looking. I would like this one. Let's try this again. Now that I actually have the right remote set up. There we go. And now if I move my big head back to the left, we can see we have apply suggestion to appropriate branch. That's where we would like to be. Apply, yes. Boom, boom. Okay, so now we have all our code suggestions in place. We have a commit. We are sitting on master. The other thing that I've changed up here that's maybe not readily apparent. So I am on Git Kraken 10.6.1, right? So if you have 10.6.1, which is latest, or at least 10.6.0, you have this conflict detection doohickey here, right? And in 10.6, this was kind of like this default was kind of problematic. But they kind of updated the defaults. But in general, right? I will generally do like origin master, origin main, right? Like a reasonable default for most repositories is going to look something like this. Because I really only care if my branch is going to conflict with the target branch that I'm going to merge into. Now, this will vary by your repository, so you can type in whatever makes sense. But in general, if it's a protected branch, that's probably the one you care about. Okay, so let's see. Do we rebase this thing? I think we do. Just make sure that this thing rebases nicely. Okay, cool. So that gets us to there. Perfect. You can see the idea with the rebase is now all of these commits are made as though they were right after master, as though we just did all of them right in a row. Perfect. That's what we're going for. Let's see. Velopack, we'll come back to you in a minute. Don't worry, Velopack. Not forgotten you. Let's get this guy up and run, because I think this will get it into a much happier. Okay, so okay, so first of all, I kind of want to make sure that we should be in a somewhat working state because of this change here. We want to actually verify that we get this thing to launch. Now, a simple way to test this little drop down arrow up at the top with the playback, like most people think of this as, oh, this just launches the application. It's like, that's true, but it's actually a little more powerful than that. So if we look down here inside of the projects, we have our launch settings.json. So whichever project is set as your startup project, which you can see by the kind of the bolded text here, right? This is my startup project. You can also see it all the way up at the top. Once you pick a project, Visual Studio looks at your launch settings.json, and that's how it chooses what to load up. So the only reason this thing says demo app, because I put demo app right here. That's it, right? But there's other things that we can do in here as well with, say, environment variables. And because our project is relying on these variables to exist, we're just going to plug in some stuff so we can actually see it work, right? So 1, 2, 3. And then we'll do, nope, that's not the one I want. I want this one. And then we're going to do 4, 5, 6. Except for I'm going to be angry about how the helping code. So now when I launch, I've got 2 environment variables defined for me, but I didn't have to change my whole environment. It's just when I'm launching this demo app project with this launch settings profile. So kind of cool. Oh, I actually realized something. That may not work the way I want it to. That will probably not work the way I want it to. Yeah, it won't. Because these variables are loaded at compile time, not at runtime. So I actually need to build this thing differently. Okay. Why do I have to get Krakens open? We only need one. Okay, so let's do this. Let's see. CD source, then main demo. That'll work. And then we're gonna go .NET build, and then I think I've got version there equals 1. I can type 2, 3. We're gonna go here. Colors version equals 4, 5, 6. There, because we need it to build properly, and then it'll pick it up. Because these are part of the build, not part of the runtime. Because it'd be kind of stupid if we expected everybody to install those. Other thing I was going to look at doing is leveraging Velopack as a potential installer for the demo app, because I think that might be a little bit cleaner in a lot of cases. .NET run. Go, go, go. Oh, it's fighting with probably Visual Studio. I assume it's holding on to it. Oh, what are our target frameworks? Let's do Net 8 Windows. Because when you launch in Visual Studio, you implicitly have a framework already picked. Okay, so that is still not populated. Oh, but that's probably from the to-do that we left. That's probably from the to-do that we left. Okay. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, so one of the things that we did not do inside of this commit is on the XAML file, we left this to do of binding up the text from the text block. So main window.xaml about line 193, give or take. Main window. Okay, so what we would like to do here is we don't need this anymore. And what we would like to do is we would like to just bind the text property. NuGet versions. And that'll go there. I don't know. Horizontal alignment left is not really necessary, and vertical alignment bottom is not really necessary. The reason I say that is this thing is inside of a stack panel. So your vertical alignment is going to be just the height of the item. Hey, Horror. So right now we are updating a stale PR. Guess I can grab it real quick. So this PR, oh, no, this PR here. So updating the demo app for the material design and XAML project so that it actually properly reports out the NuGet version that it was built with. We're going to get rid of the to-do. Leave the margin in place there. I think the text wrapping should be fine, but I think I want to be explicit. Just to be absolutely confident, right? And then if we F12 into here, that gets us all the way through. And then I'm trying to remember, do we have, we do have Community Toolkit MVVM. Okay, so I think I'm going to update a couple things here. So the way this demo app was written, and when I first took over the library, there was some general guidance around don't show preference to one MVVM framework over the other. Because at the time, there was like 3 or 4 good ones that were all kind of competing. I don't think there's that many competing. Like they slowly kind of died out a little bit, and the community toolkit is by and large the most popular one out there. So we are going to just leverage that. What did it do here? Oh, it collapsed all of these things together. Oh, that's clever. Okay, so it's worth noting what just happened here, right? So this was new observable collection, putting a single item in the collection, then iterating through all of the generated ones, ordering them by name, and then adding those in, right? So home always goes first, and then everything else goes alphabetical. That's the premise here, right? So when we do this and we leverage the collection expressions, this little guy up here is kind of interesting. This is a splat operator, and you'll note that it shows up twice, right? Like this is kind of a weird situation because this is saying expand out this array that we just built, which is just going to have this one item, and then splat out the generated demo items that are being ordered by name. That, I believe, is kind of stupid. And I think we can get away with just doing this instead. Yeah. Because one of the beauties of collection expressions is we can say add an item in, then effectively iterate over all of the items in generate demo items to tack those in. And we can do it with just 2 square braces and a couple dots, and we can call it a day. So I'm going to just update this view model to use some of the newer stuff all at once because I think that's a little bit nicer. Okay. Okay, so we need to set this property with the string for the version. So that's problem 1. But this whole pattern here of setting up that sort of thing, I don't think we actually need. Because this view model base class was built before there was an MVVM framework in the demo app. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to change it to being observable object. If I could type observable bubble object, right? And you'll note this is Community Toolkit MVVM. Yeah, and part of the reason, Kenny, you don't see the splat operator too much is because it's kind of new. That's like it doesn't show up a lot, but it's one of those things that because the analyzers have started suggesting it, it's gonna start showing up more, at least where people have their language version turned up. Right? If they at least have that much. Okay, so now we've abandoned the our own base class and we're using the community toolkit base class. And you'll note the set property thing here still compiles, right? And it only compiles because our view model base has a signature that's very similar to the MVVM one, right? Except for theirs is decorated with all the right annotations and just a little bit better. It's just a little bit better. But we can go a step further and say, you know what would be nicer is if I didn't have to write this entire property at all, because this is kind of dumb, and I just went observable property, and then this whole thing goes away. Done. Done. What is actually happening here is there is a source generator from the community toolkit NuGet package that's actually going to generate out the property stuff that I need for this view model, and all I have to do is decorate it. Hey, Izzy, always good to see you. Oh, wet dark UK. Yeah, yeah. I actually the clients I was dealing with in my day job are actually from the London area and be heading back shortly. We are taking a look at this PR. This is one that we reviewed on stream a while ago, December. But there was no movement on it, so we are just going to finish it up and get her merged. So I think I'm going to do the same thing with this like selected item. Just going to grab that sucker, bring him down, go observable property, and we're just going to upgrade all of this to use the new stuff, right? Because if we're going to be in here making changes, we might as well make changes, right? Clear that. Controls enabled. I'm just doing these one at a time so I can keep an eye on if there is anything special about any of these. Copilot, I appreciate it. Okay, we may kill off these home commands too because those are kind of dumb. We can do something better with collection expressions because we don't need this new square brace, curly brace stuff anymore. We can just do square braces by themselves. Nope, that's not what I asked for. Try again. I know that's where my cursor was, but that's not what I meant. Why are you not auto doing it for me? You would auto do it for me. No, don't worry. There's nothing, there's no major updates that, I should put it this way. There's no major bugs or anything that are going to prompt me to do another version release this many weeks back to back. Unless there's a bug or something that's causing some grief, I try not to do releases too quickly. Like there's a balancing act between doing releases often um to keep people happy with what's out there and then doing them so much that people just get overwhelmed with them and go, dear heavens, no. Right? My internal monologue just tells me that I push out preview packages on a nightly basis. So anybody who really, really wants latest and greatest, they have to wait at most 24 hours. Like that feels reasonable to me. Right? If you want latest and greatest, grabbing a preview package is probably not the end of the world. We're just going to get all this stuff updated, all pretty and nice. I will also comment too, for anyone who wants to contribute to the library, one of the things that we actively do, and this is documented in the contribution guidelines, is the material design and XAML project will always be using latest tooling, right? So every time there's a new version of .NET, we're going to be compiling with the latest compiler. Every time there's a new Visual Studio, same deal, right? So it doesn't mean that we're going to break backwards compatibility for using the library with older frameworks. That still is a thing, right? Like that would be dumb to do. But if you want to actively work on the code, you will need up-to-date Visual Studio and .NET. End of each quarter would fit nicely with my projects. I will keep that in mind. Izzy, honestly, somewhere between once a quarter and once every 6 months is kind of what I think is a good cadence. So once every other quarter, maybe. But yeah, it should be roughly in that. What are you complaining about here? Oh yeah, so this is actually a good example of something that's I don't know why I haven't noticed this before. So right, so this is uh, just applying a filter, and what it is doing, it is taking the name, which is a string, converting it to lowercase, and then doing a contains where this thing is lowercase. It's like, does this work? Yes, but the problem is you have a string copy here, a string copy here, all to return back a boolean, right? What it is rightly suggesting is much better, is doing something more like this. String compare, uh, something like that. All right. Oh, I'm gonna get bit by multiple frameworks, aren't I? Oh, I totally am. Yeah, I'm gonna get bit. Q1 and Q3 then? That way I can split my updates with my other updates? I mean, I could certainly aim for that. We could certainly do it. When you say Q1 and Q3, do those follow like a regular calendar? Like is Q1 like January through March type situation? Some people do theirs. Oh, that's why this is bad. Oh, this is okay. So another good sample here, right? So in this case, it's saying no overload for contains takes two arguments, right? But the reason it's saying that is because I build the demo app targeting multiple frameworks, 472, net 6, and as soon as I go net 8, we're going to, as soon as it catches itself up, it'll figure out that, oh, look, there's the overload that I was looking for, but it doesn't exist on all frameworks. So that's exciting. So we're just going to fix this differently. So if we are, I think was it net 8 that they added this in? It certainly exists there. Else. Oh, are you going to write the code form? Oh, Copilot, you show off. You bloody show off. Freaking Copilot. Freaking Copilot. Oh, so I can probably do this as net 6 then. Yeah, so if it's net 6 or greater, you have the contains overload, but if you're on net 472, this is the way you do contains properly. It's just ugly, right? It doesn't read nice. Let's see. Oh, Q1 is April through June. Yeah, that's why I was asking, Izzy, because a lot of people have their Q1s following weird patterns. Like I get it, right? People will call them like fiscal years or different things depending on where you're at. So it's like, yeah, sure. So release again in April to June. Probably actually very doable. Okay. At least for the major revs. If there's bugs or anything that come up, I'll obviously kick a release quicker. But for those, that's probably very, very doable. Okay. That dealt with that. That dealt with that. Oh, this search keyword. So this one's slightly more fun, right? So if we go observable property, right, this gets us the property, but you'll note when this one changed, it was calling demo items view refresh. The nice part about the source generator, though, is we can do that, and I think we can actually even get away with that. Let's see. Oh, does this actually have? Oh, is there already one down? Oh, that's what this one down here is called, isn't it? I think it is. I think it is. We'll put it back there. That way it lands nicely. Because there's already a guy labeled that way. Missing partial mod. Oh yeah. To have the source generator work, you have to be a partial class. So that's all good. That's all good there. That fixed all of those up. I do think I want to change one little thing down here. Let's see. If search keyword is length greater than 0. Right, so I'm just going to do. Oh, this is actually different, right? So is null or white space. I think though I still want to do search keyword. And so one thing that bites a lot of people is if I were to just do search keyword down here, this is technically a bad idea, right? Like it works, but I'm rereading the property twice because I have to call the getter here and then I call the getter here again, and I'm making the assumption that the value doesn't change between the two. So string search keyword. I don't need the null coalescing, thanks. But I do want to do this because once you pull it into a local variable, it's thread safe by definition. So now, because I've got a local reference, even if the property changes, the invocation of this method will always act on the local value, and so it'll be consistent across this check and this check. That's what we're going for. Okay, so that fixes that. That fixes that. I think I want to take out the command implementations. Yeah, so this here is another command implementation, which is just the built-in I command implementation. And it's only here because WPF did not ship with a reasonable I command implementation for view models. It's just dumb. But thankfully, we've got a reasonably good option for the MVVM toolkit. So you'll see here, this thing's just invoking a lambda to do this kind of thing. For the source generators, we actually have to give it a method, but we can just go private void on home. Just one of my own personal idiosyncrasies. I usually name my execution methods on and then command name. And then if we decorate this guy with relay command, and then we take the little bit of work that he was doing before and we just stick it in this method, right? And then we just delete this whole sucker, right? He goes away. He goes away. And now we don't have to deal with all of that stuff, right? There's just a little method here. Just want to change one little thing is a bad thing to say. When I say that, I tend to fix 2 bugs, create 4 new features, which 1 or 2 of those are unexpected. See, just happy little accidents. Happy little accidents. Okay, these commands here are going to be slightly more interesting because these things have a next previous, and they have a can execute delegate that goes along with them. Fine, we can do that. So if I go private void on move prev, and I'm naming it the same as what it was, just because I know that the source generator is going to take, it'll strip off the on, it'll take the name of the method, and then it'll tack on command at the end. Right, so there's just the MVVM toolkit has some kind of just convention-based stuff, which is both good and bad, right? Like it means that you get a nice, consistent behavior as long as you adhere to the rules that it has, right? But we also need to handle this can execute, right? But we can do that pretty easily. We come down here, we go private void can move previous, and this one I'm going to spell out because there's nothing major here, and this guy is just going to be a very simple method. Oh, except for he needs to return a bool, because you know that. And once again, just kind of by convention, I like prefixing it with the word can. The way you link it to the command is you go can execute, and then you just have to give it the name of the method, right? And the source generator will take this string from the name of, and in the source that it generates, it'll invoke this method. Right? So you get nice. If you were to do something wacky, right, it gets very unhappy with you. Or even if you get really fancy and it's like, well, I don't want to use name of, right? Let's just do a hard coded string. right? Which works, right? But now if I typo it, it's like, well, that was just a string, right? Well, you immediately get an error because the source generator goes, I can't find this method. So even though it's a magic string, it's a magic string that the source generator is going to check for you. So it's not that magical, right? It's still compile time checked, which is convenient. Now we kill off this guy altogether. He goes away. Don't need that. Don't need any of that. It's going to delete some code here. Boom. Okay, so we'll just do private void on move next. Go ahead, Copilot. Thank you. I don't even know if that's right. Did it do the same thing? Not null, empty, plus plus. Null or white space, set it to empty, plus plus. Yep. Okay, Copilot, what am I doing next? Oh, see? Complete amateur. Rub. Okay. Okay. There you go. Yeah, you got it right. You show off. Show off. Yeah, that's the other nice part about when you leverage these source generators and their conventions, it kind of forces you to write code following those conventions, and the AI tools eat that for breakfast. They absolutely love consistent patterns like that, and then it just starts generating things left and right, which is awesome. Okay, so now we've updated this, that goes away, that goes away. It should all just work. Let's just launch the demo app real quick to make sure that we're still in a working state. Make sure I haven't broken much. At some point, I will probably apply similar treatment to the rest of the demo app. Because even though the demo app is designed to show the breadth of what is possible, we still want it to be reasonable. Oh, I didn't clean up this load versions here, right? Let's see here, because this was just setting this, and so we want to move, this is the code that we left. Let's just move this out. It should cause a break here, right? So we're gonna just move this into the main window view model. Specifically right about here, boom. Let's see here. Yeah, let's move it down next to the property, I think. And I think I'm gonna call it load versions. This becomes NuGet versions. Right. I didn't populate the values in there properly, so we'll do that in just a second. Call it from the constructor. Go. And then NuGet versions. You want to just pop. Yeah, thank you, Copilot. I think what I actually want to do though is I want to do one of these maneuvers because I think I want new lines between it. I think I want to go here, go here. That was nice. Wrong, but nice. Then we need it to be interpolated, so we put that in there. Something more like that. Yeah. Okay. Should just work. Let's see. We will see. I'm actually wondering what exception do I think I need to be catching here? Need an I need an on-premise offline version of Copilot that can point at company repos and help me write repeat codes in a Faraday cage. I know you joke, but I think that's actually possible. I might have to look, but I think you can actually get something like that with like the enterprise GitHub. I might have to double check because that is a like you're not alone in that. There's a lot of companies where uh they don't mind Copilot as long as it just never leaves the network. Right? It just needs to be locked in the little box that they have for it and then it's happy. Okay, so that's there. Let's see, next. Okay, so that guy actually is going, albeit a little slowly, but he is going. Previous isn't working properly. I'm pretty sure I know why. Because we generated those commands, and previously the another command would just invalidate always, and now what we actually want to do is the community toolkit commands are a little more conservative in terms of when they raise their can execute. You have to tell them when it needs to go, and so in this case, the important value is the selected index property. When it changes, we need to notify it. We need to notify the commands. So we come up here and we go notify can execute changed for name of move next command. Come on, Copilot. There's your hint. What am I typing here? Here you go, Copilot. There we go. Good boy. Therefore, we didn't call it move previous. So close. Oh, yeah. So that might be a problem then, Izzy. Because I'm not aware of other alternatives currently. I mean, I know there's third party like code gen stuff that's similar to Copilot because everybody caught the AI craze. Okay, now when I go next, oh look, the previous works. Right, and if we jump all the way to the end, typography, right, that one, right, that works a little better. Great. Okay. At some point we may improve the performance of this because some of these things on my machine even feel a little laggy. Which ain't great. Plus, you can see that ripple effect that occurs when you hit the button. It looks really nice, except for that animation has to run on the UI thread. And so when it's loading things that have already been preloaded and cached, it looks nice and animated. But when it hits a new page, it has to create all the UI elements. So it's like, uh, uh, and it doesn't look good. So, but that is more an artifact of how the demo app is written, not necessarily the fault of else. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go and do explicit type, blah blah blah. Yeah, because I get twitchy about all of these things. I wish. Don't I have an exclusion dictionary for this? I not have an exclusion dictionary? Oh, I fix that too. Okay. What's the blue down here? More snack bar stuff. Yeah, I get it. Snack bar is there, and you are right, Izzy, about the priciness of it. Yeah. Um, I'm fairly confident it's on the realm of if you have to ask, it's too expensive. Let's see. Would you want to preload all of the UI upon opening the app? See, that's a question. I don't think so. What I think I might want to do instead, and this is one of those weird areas where it's actually more efficient to go slower. So, one of the things that you can do is you can actually slow down the handling of the button click, right? So, like, and we won't leave this in, but a quick and dirty approach, right, is if we were keeping track of which ones were already loaded, something like await task delay, 300, right? I make the code slower and it feels smoother. It's a weird phenomenon with UI apps is sometimes it's actually your app feels faster when it goes slower because this allows the animations to complete and then the thing just shows up. So even though it takes 0.3 of a second longer, it feels smoother because it's not jittery. So it's one of those things. It's like, but I don't necessarily like that option either. Like I kind of would want to keep track of which ones are already loaded. That way I don't just blindly do that every time. So but that's probably a little beyond what I might want to do. Right? And then why is this thing null checking? So this is another thing that gets my eye is this is a private method and it's null checking its parameters. Right? Like it's not bad to null check, but this is also often referred to as defensive programming. And it can be good in certain contexts, but what am I guarding against? This is private. I have nullable reference types turned on. The only invocation is right here. Like if I wanted to null check, the null check should live up here in the constructor, not down in generate demo items. I think we're going to whack that too. That doesn't make a lot of sense. The other kind of really subtle bug that's not obvious here is this null check. It doesn't occur when you call the method, right? This is one of this is a great. So anybody who's going in for an interview, pay attention. This comes up a lot in interviews, right? If I do var foo gets generate demo items, right, and I just force a null in, right? This will not throw, right? Proof is in the pudding, right? We're going to run this. I'm going to go here and here, right? So, whoop. I hit breakpoint 1. I hit breakpoint 2. And I'm on to the next page, and I never threw an exception, right? So what is actually happening here is because this method is using yield returns, this is compiled as an iterator method, right? The magical word that interviewers are often looking for, or phrase, I guess, is deferred execution, right? When you have an IEnumerable method, it is not executed until you actually iterate over the enumerable, right? That's one of the powers of LINQ is you get this nice deferred execution thing. And all you had to do was have, enumerable return and use the yield return keyword. Because you know we have a bunch of yield returns in here. The problem is because this isn't checked until the iterator starts going, or until it's being iterated over for. Like if I were to do a .toList, then I would actually get inside here and hit it, because toList forces it to iterate through the enumerable to pull the items back. Even if I did something like first, right? Anything that requires the enumerable to be iterated on to get an item, it would then check this. But because there's this disjoint between where I technically invoke the method and where I actually iterate over the enumerable, you get into these fun, weird cases because it's deferred execution. Right? So oftentimes when you write an iterator method, you don't want to write it this way, right? So if you did want to write an iterator method with a null check like this, what you would often do is abuse a local function, right? You do IEnumerable demo items generate demo items implementation, right? And then I just put all of these yield returns, all of them, which there are a bunch, inside of a local function, right? And so now I have subtly changed what's happening, right? Oh, and we have to return generate demo items implementation, right? So if we do this now and relaunch, and then you go into IAsync enumerable, Izzy, you're adding complexity, but yes, it gets even more fun, right? So now if I go in here, right, I will in fact hit my argument null exception, right? I don't have a toList or anything. What has subtly changed is there are two methods, right? This method here could also be just another private function too, right? If we wanted to pull it out. But usually you do it as a nested inner function, because this thing really should only be called from here, right? But the idea is this outer function doesn't have deferred execution. It has a return statement, not a yield return statement. So on invocation, this guy is executed immediately. This function does have yield return statements, so it has deferred execution, right? So you do your null checks here where it will be evaluated right away, and then you push your deferred execution down into here, right? That's the big idea. But in my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I don't even care about the null check, and I'm just going to burn it to the ground, right? Problem solved. And more importantly, this method should only be called up in the constructor anyway, blah, blah, blah. Problem goes away. That to do is done. Trying to figure out what exception I am worried about hitting. Oh, I don't know if this I don't. This is one of those try catches where I think I actually want to crash if there's an exception in here because I don't know what failure case I'm I wouldn't want to crash in. Okay. Okay. There. Launch. I will say that is an undervalued thing in software development is sometimes you actually want to throw the exception. I think sometimes people get in this idea of we don't want to crash. We got to catch all the exceptions, right? And sometimes you actually do want to crash. It is better to throw up a good error message early, find the bugs and fix them, than to try to catch exceptions and get yourself into wacky states. I think that is oftentimes undervalued. Now, obviously, sometimes um, you really want to catch exceptions because some critical path or whatever. Right? Sure, fine. But it's always like this is one thing that I didn't like in Java, where you decorate your methods saying what it throws. That always annoyed me. But in some ways, it's kind of nice because it forces you to think. And it gets in your way a lot. Uh, should not be null. Yeah. So this one, I'm kind of okay with saying it will always be true. So the the theme class, like technically, get assembly is never guaranteed to return non null. Let's see. Oh, type of theme dot assembly should not be null. Oh, I see what you're saying. So go this route. That guy did. That's a good point. Thank you, Izzy. Yes, that is cleaner. Yeah, I like that better. The Fury. What do you think about desktop application, WinForms, and others? Do you believe people will continue developing desktop apps? Yeah, I don't see them going away completely. I think like web and similar has become more powerful and has taken away areas that used to be like the thick client space only, right? Like there is an argument to be made that a lot of like line of business apps can just be spas, simple web apps. Like there's no problem with them because they aren't doing anything fancy, right? That doesn't matter that much. There's still an area I believe that exists um, where thick clients have to exist, right? Apps that need desktop clients are going Electron. Yeah, Electron's definitely one option. There's a handful of other ones. My current favorite at the moment. I'll just plug this real quick while I'm in here. Right. So this is so if I am building, if you were to ask me to build you a cross-platform desktop app, this is my pick right now. I really like Avalon. But it's still a C sharp, XAML, common code base, Skia back for the rendering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have paid tier stuff, but they also have a free tier core that's awesome. Like in my day job, I built and released a mobile application on iOS and Android just earlier this month using Avalonia. Great. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Love the framework. But I think there's always going to be, well, I don't want to say always. I think at least at present, there is a category of functionality that the web just doesn't handle well. Um, that makes it a lot more difficult to work with. Right, like one of my day jobs, I build a forensic video analysis application. Right, it's got some requirements like has to work in air gap networks. It has to be fast and performant for video, and you can't do that with like really big video files in the web, right? And that's a niche case, but I think that's kind of the area where desktop apps and thick clients are. It surprised me you always have the answer on the tip of your tongue. I have a lot of opinions. Even something like Visual Studio, right? Like you've got VS Code and VS Code in the browser, and it's good, but it's not on par, right? Like the desktop app has a lot that the web-based ones don't have yet. So I think web still has a ways to go before it is likely to usurp all the things. And I don't know that everybody is in love with web development either. Right? Like We've got all of the JavaScript framework wars, right? Your Reacts, your Views, uh, and similar. And so it's like, yeah, they're good. But now we have WebAssembly. It's like, oh, well, WebAssembly that makes it really interesting. And so now we've got like that's what Avalonia does for its web is it can compile the WebAssembly. That's pretty cool. So it kind of opens up a lot of stuff earlier. Um, oh, Izzy. Sorry, Izzy. I should clarify. I started building the app November of last year, and it was a fairly small application. Like it's a pretty cool little app, but it's somewhat small. Like it didn't need a lot of functionality. There's a login screen. Users can fill out effectively a form. It's a midwife application with a birth log. Um, so it does one thing really well. Works great. But yeah, didn't it wasn't a big project by any means. Let's see, SAP UI5. I'm familiar with SAP. Is it related? I have not heard of this before. Responsive across all browsers and devices. Oh, this is from the same. This logo looks very similar to like the Hangfire one. Is this related? Read me first. ECMAScript. Interesting. Yeah, so 1.5 months, assuming that includes CIC. Of course, Izzy, it had CICD. I had to be happy while I was working on the project. I will say though, the one thing I did do is my pipelines were all manual triggers, only because the client didn't exactly have a lot of money and build minutes started to add up, right? So the compromise was, you know what? Maybe we'll only run the pipelines when I click the button. So there was that. So like it's nice to run full CI/CD on everything, but there is a lot. Yeah, I will say this is the first time I have seen this, but like I will admit it doesn't look it does not look horrible, but it does look like yeah, it is a little bit interesting. This is I would not say something that's overly mainstream, but I have to be careful when I say mainstream, right? Because there's kind of two areas inside of like the enterprise ecosystem. There's a lot of stuff that they're often referred to as dark matter devs. So there's all of these devs that are usually fairly good, right? But they don't have GitHub profiles. They work on these isolated systems. They're like Izzy, except for they don't join my stream, right? They're isolated in their own little company's network. They don't like do open source or whatnot, but like they're decent devs, but they live in their little company bubble, and you never hear about them, right? And sometimes these types of thing, like the enterprise targeted software, is sometimes not overly known because it's not something that's really consumable by people with smaller budgets, right? And I imagine going to look to see what their pricing model was. But I imagine this is one of those things where it is, if you have to ask, it's too expensive. Hey, I use GitHub for my stuff. See, Izzy, that disqualifies you from being a dark matter dev. Like, because like a lot of times, like in my day job, because I work for effectively a consulting company, like we go into places, and any company that's afloat, there's usually at least a few good devs in there, right? If all the devs are horrible, the company doesn't stay afloat very long, right? So there's always someone there, and these dark matter devs can sometimes be brilliant, brilliant developers, but they stay inside their little bubble, and so it's hard to know anything about them because they live in their isolated networks and they don't raise their head on GitHub or similar. So you don't see them, and all of a sudden they just spring up somewhere. A lot of them work for governments. Yeah. Like this doesn't necessarily in samples you can get a view of components. Oh, cool. Let's take a look. Input, user interaction, lists, various list structures. Okay, let's take a look at a table. Right? Upload set with table plugin. Sure. Show it to me. Hmm. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Download, does it? Oh, it legitimately opens up instructions.pdf. Okay, great. I mean, it advertises to be what it is. Does it handle multi-select? If I do that, what does it do? Oh, yeah. It actually tries to trigger multiple. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't look that bad to me. What is it, though? Microcharts models like this. Like, even though I haven't necessarily heard of it, this thing, run unit tests, open app, download app. Show it to me. Download blocked. Why is there not an option for sometimes allow? Right? Show me the shopping cart app. What do you got here? Here. And I'm gonna go put this in a little bucket somewhere so it doesn't do anything bad. Our architect made us learn this framework. Yeah, I will say it's interesting saying it was famous. Yeah, well, it's certainly interesting to me. This part is surprising to me. Like this is like it the so a couple of good things I can say about it right out the gate because this is Electron based, I think. Certainly looks like it. How does one run the app? Shopping cart, web app, component, index. Just launches a thingamabobber. Oh, with HTTP server you can run it. Oh. So it does really want to live inside. That's interesting. Uh, yeah, that gives me a bit of pause. So, and that is one area that I will say I'm not horribly sold on. So there's several things like Flutter's another example of this, right? Where you can take your web-based stuff and then wrap it up for, desktop or mobile or whatnot. And I have a hard time with that. I do not. This is probably a bit of ignorance on my part. I don't fully understand the use case for it, right? If I've got people with web development skills, why would I not just make a mobile friendly website? What's the advantage of making it into an app, right? Like it feels like if it's wanting to be an app, my thing should have appy level stuff. Now there's potentially an argument for, well, this keeps me from having to have all my people reskill and that kind of thing. Um, yeah, because I don't know if it's good to learn it because I don't know if I'd use it in the future. Yeah, this is one of those areas where like SAP is fairly well known, right? This is the same company, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. So SAP I'm familiar with. I was not familiar with this UI5 demo kit that they have because SAP is a fairly well-known enterprise solution. We run across them quite a bit because we do work with utilities and power companies, and SAP is very popular. So I will say that. So uh, the UI kit from SAP, this is news to me, but SAP is not. Um, Yeah. And this is why they exist. A lot of big names backing them, right? Because they can do a lot. And if their UI kit is like the rest of their stuff, like it's okay. But I will say I imagine this likely is a skill set in this probably paints you into enterprise only level work. Um, yeah, not developing plugins for SAP. We've often built integrations for SAP because we've done work with like IBM and Oracle on their products for like ERP solutions. So, for example, uh, right. So I can show off a couple things. Oh, actually, while I'm here, tech coalesce. Right. So this is right. So what we typically do if we're going to go through and build out something webby based, we have a framework for genning up a lot of our web code, but it's Vue based, specifically Vue 3. But it is very much a web based framework because most of the time that's what we need, right? We are standing something up. A lot of line of business applications are text boxes over data. You got to get data from point A to point B. It needs to be presented in a pretty way, and it looks like it does a lot of the same stuff that this does. Great, fine. Right. Where is our? We have a page. Yeah. So like something like this or this. Oh, and actually, does AIS have a demo page? This is actually one of the cooler ones that we've built. It's how can I can I get in? Ooh, let me see. I haven't seen this demo yet. So I don't know what I'm about to demo. Stand by. I don't know what this is gonna show. This is one of our cool ones. Fine. Yeah. So this is effectively what a coalesce app ends up looking like. You've got an event. You can add an activity, right? You can do get feedback from users, create, right? Uh, personal device settings, add a question. Common image URL. Oh, there we are. Question, new question. What is the best beverage? And why is it Mountain Dew? Right? Short answer, long answer, all that kind of stuff. And then it basically opens up. Will it let me open this personal up and show it what it looks like? Scheduled to start 8 a.m. Great. Right. So if we start the event, yeah, start it. Doo-doo, right. So what is the best beverage and why is it Mountain Dew? So it's kind of like this like audience interactive system. It gives you kind of that back and forth. Um, Ooh, essential C sharp on Kindle. Cool. That is awesome. So if you do find issues with it, there have been a number of like typos and things we have fixed, but there is a GitHub repo that you can log stuff that you find. So I will say that I assume the Kindle is the same as the print. There are a number of typos that we did find and they've been fixed in the electronic version. So I don't think there's been anything major, but I'm not aware of anything major. But if you come across stuff, please let us know. Right, but like some of the stuff like the myriad, the trellis, the carbon, these are things that and a lot of these integrations around in this case Oracle, but oftentimes like big utilities and enterprises, they buy these like Oracle suites, the SAP, etc., and then they want them plugged together and to work nicely together, and that's often what we end up writing software to do is connect them and move stuff around. That's what a lot of these solutions are all about, is either managing or integrating across these kind of enterprisey suites, because even though the enterprisey suites are nice, they often cost quite a bit to like uh, get them get the customer all the way there, right? You buy the big Oracle suite of software and that gets you like 90% of the way there, but then you spend that last 10% kind of trying to customize it, trying to get it to integrate with your on-prem whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, we know already how to do that. Do you want us to get you all connected and going? So, cuz a lot of like the Oracles and the IBMs, they charge a huge amount of money to do the customization for you. But their stuff is so big and complex, it's difficult to do on your own. So people kind of get hosed. But no, that's cool. Yeah, so I think I would say like the SAP stuff doesn't look bad. It's probably a skill set that will be limited to only certain enterprise grade work, just due to the nature of who is likely to be buying that kind of stuff. So is it bad to learn? Probably not, but is it going to give you a broad skill set? No, it's going to be kind of targeted into those specific things. Let's see, learn a lot. Use framework 4.6 most of my time. I think it's limited. C sharp 7.3, C sharp 12. It's a whole new world. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And the nice part is the release last November didn't really add that much, right? The biggest features were kind of esoteric and didn't matter a lot to a lot of people, but some of this stuff like the square braces and the splat operator, those are new. They're kind of cool, but they're not like major earth-shattering features. They're just like they're the type of features I tell people about and they go, "Oh, that's cool," and then we move on. Let's see here. So let's see. Can we go back to here? And then if I do build, and then I should be able to run it and see it work. Oh, Fury, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Okay, come on, compile. MS Build. Yeah, so just for anybody who's interested, right? Like when I see things like this where is locked by MS Build, Visual Studio keeps MS Build processes running in the background as a performance optimization because if you don't have to restart the process, that saves a lot of time. But it also means you get into problems like this when you like compile outside of it. So it's like, I could shut it down, but eh. Okay, so now if I run it, I should see a version number show up. Hopefully, a 123 and a 456. That's what success looks like. What we're going for. Probably should have done a dash dash no build here to make sure it doesn't recompile, but yeah, I'm wondering if it recompiled. That gives me a bit of pause that it's not there. So let's do one more build. I want to make sure that this value actually makes it in. Then we're going to do a no build on the next one. Oh, could not write. Playing about. Okay, fine. I'm going to shut down Visual Studio because it's just getting in the way. Try this again. Come on. Drag this a little bit just to make sure my big head isn't getting too far in the way. Oh, look at that. It worked just fine. What a shock. Okay. No build. There. And now you should have a. Oh. Hey, JC. Good morning. Let's see. Oh, Fury, don't apologize for questions. I love questions. Let's see. How many years have I been working with C Sharp.net? I gotta do math in my head now. So I think my first intro into it would have been 2008 or 9, I think. Um yeah, I think I'm gonna say 2009 is when I first started with it. I jumped on C Sharp basically right after I graduated university, and or even I guess slightly before then. It would have been right in that range. Let's see. Big question. Let's see. For the past 2 days, I've been working on two-way binding for ListView selected items to the view model. ListView is bound to observable collection with selected Boolean property in my data type, which I bound to ListView item is selected. This caused issues due to UI virtualization. Disabling virtualization worked, but slowed the ListView with thousands of items. I'm now considering adding a checked column to list. That is a great question. Give me a couple minutes and we'll do. I either have a sample or we'll make a sample for that because that's a good one. Let's see. I'm asking because it's amazing the fact that you always have a solution or something to explain about everything you're doing. Thank you, Fury. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I will say there's the usual premise of like 10,000 hours, somebody becomes an expert. Um, but like I also spend a significant amount of my free time just doing development and code and whatnot. So I tend to hit that 10,000 hours a little quicker than other people might. Okay, so step one, let's go figure out why the heck shut this guy down because it did not build properly. I want to look at the output directory here. So I'm just going to use VS Code, make it bigger. Let's see. So main demo, obj, and then I am looking for the assembly info file because that is what I expect to see in here. Let's see. Debug, net8. There it is. So it did not add those things in. I am confused. Let's see here. So what did I do wrong on the build? So let's see here. So the dash P should have been add property name colon version. Okay, so the way you debug this is you add a dash BL to the end of your command. Yeah, the it is actually a common problem with the selected stuff on the list box. There's a couple ways to go through and handle it. The virtualization is definitely a problem. So, couple spoilers for you, Heinzen, which I hope I'm saying that correctly. So, if you have a property on your item that's an is selected, that is important because, like you discovered with data virtualization, the moment the UI element goes, I don't want to say out of scope, but is reused for a different item, unless you're binding that is selected to something in your view model itself, it is going to be lost. The other thing that you can do is on the list box, you can watch for the selected changed and you can maintain your own list. You end up doing this a little bit in your code behind because there's not a like you want a two-way binding, but there's not necessarily a cleanish way of getting away with that because of how listbox does the selection. Right? So people have written like attached properties where they watch for the selection changed event on listbox. And when the selection changed event is raised, they grab the selected items collection and then just like cache that into an attached property or shove it into a property on their view model. So that's the other way you can get away with it, right? Based upon how you described it, I assume this is multi-select is enabled with like shift and control because most of the people don't run into that unless they've got multi-selection enabled, right? It still bites you on single selection because you could select an item, roll, and then it falls off the list. But usually when people run into this, it's because they're doing multi-selection. What? Oh, I don't have. Oh, winget search ms build. I don't remember the name of this binary logger. That's what I want. Yeah, this thing. I want. Oh, the thing is too tiny. I need it to I need it to reflow. My text is too big. My text is too big. There we go. That's what I want. Give me that ID. Winget install paste. Okay. Now we can open up our bin log. What? Did you not register it? MS build structured log viewer. Fine. I will go at it this way. Go get me my log file. So, gotta navigate over to where it exists. And then I grab main demo. There's my bin log. Okay. And now we can debug our problem. So what we expect, oh, I closed it, didn't I? I want this guy. So in the demo app, if we look at the CS proj, What is it called? My CS project. There it is. In here, we have this assembly attribute that we expect to be populated. So we're going to grab this, and we're going to go back to here. We're going to just pop that into there. And we can see the CS proj adds several assembly attributes, assembly metadata. Both of those are existing. So that's exciting. Okay. So that did exactly what I expected it to do. Why? Oh. Oh. Is UI virtualization something specific to WPF? No, it is not. I think I see my bug. I will get this open. So the idea with UI virtualization, if you can imagine a list box or similar, is every item in that list box has to have a UI element associated with it. The problem is when you're inside of a scrollable section like a list view, only some number of items are actually visible. So if we have 10,000 items in our list, our scroll view is not showing 10,000 items. It's showing a window into maybe 20, right? So UI virtualization says, well, what if I only generate 20 list item UI elements and I just reuse those as the user scrolls, right? So it's the amount of items that you can see plus a few above and below. So as the user scrolls, it just reuses the UI item and shoves new data in behind it, right? WPF makes this on by default in a lot more cases than WinForms does, but WinForms has virtualization as well. Because without it, if the UI had to generate 10,000 items, it would slow your UI down. Yeah, I would say virtualization is a solution for where people might use um, uh, or UI virtualization is a solution where people might use paging to solve it as well, right? Same problem, different solution, right? Paging solves it a little bit also on the data side because UI virtualization, you still have 10,000 items in a list behind it, right? And UI virtualization only reuses the UI elements for those items in the list, but you still have 10,000 items in a list. Data virtualization is where you get like the infinite scroll on like your Twitters or your Facebooks or similar, like the things on your newsfeed. As you're scrolling, it's getting more data and populating those things in. And so once you get data virtualization, that says, well, rather than loading those 10,000 items into my list, I'm only going to load in so many as I need them. Right? So there's different layers of it, and they both kind of in general have the idea of let me not get more data and elements than I actually need. Right? That's the big idea with it. So it's a great performance thing, but it also brings some complexity. And yeah, Izzy is correct. There are virtualization is an overloaded word because then we get into like hardware virtualization as well. Yeah, game devs do it too. Only update the area on the screen that needs painting rather than the whole screen of billions of pixels. Yeah, because doing too much is too much. Okay. So we did that there, and I think I want to make sure the bug is where I think it is, and then I'll say what I think it is. Yeah, okay. So here's what I did wrong. Yeah, never worked with WPF, so I'm a little lost. No, that's fine. Feel free to ask away. In a lot of ways, WPF was WinForms, where the UI is XAML, and where they addressed a lot of kind of the pain points that they saw with WinForms. But WinForms is still like by user base, WinForms is bigger than WPF because when Microsoft released it, it was like the best thing on the market at the time. And so it captured a lot of the market by the virtue of it was first and reasonable. And so a lot of people jumped on board with it. And then once you have big investments in something, it's hard to switch. Okay, so here's the bug, right? And this may not be obvious to other people. I am reading the assembly attributes, and I am reading the assembly attributes of the theme class, which is not up here in the demo. It is down here in the material design themes project, right? So down in this layer. So the assembly attributes that are being built are down in the shared library, which makes sense because we want to get the version of the library. But when I am compiling it, I am intentionally compiling inside of the demo application. And so these variables are being set for the demo application, and there's nothing that adds these two attributes in the demo. So this just doesn't work. This is just dumb. Okay, so solution, right? We're going to go up a directory, and we're going to go up a directory. And then we can run the same exact command because .NET Build will work as long as in the directory that you're in, it finds a single solution or single project file. So before we were doing single project file, now it's going to be single solution. But more importantly, it's going to compile all the projects, not just the demo app. That should populate the assembly attributes, and then it should work properly. That is the goal. At least that's what I'm hoping happens. Otherwise, I'm going to be made a liar. Okay, so while that's thinking about what it's done, I'll close some stuff up. Don't want that. Don't want that. If I go here, right, and I go here, and I go here, and I go here, and I go here, I go here, and I launch this. Don't have the assembly attributes. Why do you not have the assembly attributes set? Okay, let's back up and look. Is this so let's start with the obvious, right? Let's go here, let's go here. Oh, wait a minute. I put the assembly attributes in the CS project for the demo app, not inside the library. Yeah, so this is just dumb. Right? So if we're going to read it out of the library, we should have these down in the library. Right? And this should actually be specific. Okay, so I just wrote this code wrong. That's the fundamental problem is I'm an idiot. Okay, so that's the problem. Now how do we fix me being an idiot? Let me back this up. I want the whole thing here. And then I want to get rid of the colors one. Then I want to go to the colors project. And I want to get rid of the MDIX one. All right, so that'll put each of those in their respective places. All right, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. What's your problem here? Unload, reload. Sometimes the automatic loading of projects loses its mind. Hey, Rhinoceros. We are working on getting this PR in and working. So we are looking to have the demo app read in the version numbers. Okay, and then I wrote this code just wrong as well. So this one here is only supposed to find the material design version. The colors version, it should be looking in the colors DLL. Duh. Like an idiot. Like an idiot. Okay. MDIX. Actually, here's what we're going to do. Static string get version. There we go. Right? And so we're going to do T here, right? And then attribute key. There's your only hint, Copilot. Write the code. Can you do it? Oh, so good. So good. It's wrong, but it's so good. So good. Okay, you got pretty close. You got close-ish, right? Let's see. Singular default key equals attribute key dot value. Right, so we want that, we want that, we want that, and then we just do this. And this is going to be nullable string, right? And so this then becomes get version from the theme, from the assembly and the theme class with the value MDX version, right? Boom, 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 semicolon, close, close, done. Right? And so then this is going to go away, and we're going to end up doing something similar, but I need to look, what is the quintessential thing. This probably swatch. That's probably the closest thing to the quintessential class that I can come up with. That goes there, goes there, that goes there. The right thingy. There. So we will read the MDIX version out of the MDIX assembly and the MDIX colors version out of the MDIX colors assembly. That makes more sense. Okay, I now understand why this PR didn't get any updates, because I'm assuming the original author tried it and realized my suggestion didn't work, because it didn't work. Okay, close that, close that. That's probably a little better. Okay. Files, everyone's happy. Back to the terminal. Okay, so now we will build again. And this time it will work because I really want it to. And we can go take a look at that list box. Because well, that's compiling. I may go look because I think I may have some. Right, so I have, for anybody who wants to follow along at home, I do have this repository where I dump tons of sample things. This is just multi-select items. I don't know that this actually covers what we want to do. I don't think this is quite right. Close, but not. May not have a good sample, so we'll go and look at one. Okay, and then that now built. Goes. We have very different definitions of built successfully. Oh, I am looking in the wrong folder. That's why I'm an idiot. Let's try this again. Let's see. Bin debug net 8. Oh! Winner, winner. It reads these in. Yay. Okay, and in case anybody's wondering how this is going to work in practice, let me just show that real quick. Because inside of the pipelines, build artifacts, right? We pass in the version strings, right? There are those in there. And then you will note when we are going through and doing the build, we specify these environment variables. Environment variables come through the through to MS Build as variables that can then be accessed, and this is how versions are currently being set on the DLLs, but this will now populate that through all the way nice. Bippity boppity boo. Okay, so let's go here. Go here. Let's see. Updating to read in the library versions. Updated the main window model to use the MVVM toolkit. There. Was there anything else we changed? Let's just do a quick sanity check. So that's the rainbow merge from all the change. That's the binding. That's fine. Code behind, we just nuked everything, so that's good. CS proj, we got rid of this because it was. We got rid of this because we needed to move it out to the other projects. The bin log should not be here, so we are going to delete. Let's see here. Then this one we will. Oh, I need to unstage. I'm looking at the stage set. Okay, that guy goes away. Okay, let's continue down the code path. This CS proj adds in the colors. The themes adds in the theme. Yes, yes. Yeah, I think I like this better because the other way we could have made work by taking both of these variables and populating them both inside the demo app assembly. But I think it's slightly better if the demo app just reads the version off of the referenced assemblies rather than otherwise. So that will work muchos better. Muchos better. Okay. Big head to the left. Stage all. Submit. Push. Submit. And then we look at the pull request. View on GitHub. Because I just would like to go through. I think at this point I can just slap and approve on it because we just wrote it. Let's see. Oh, we do not need this change here in build artifacts. Let's go back in. Missed something. I did not realize that change was there. Yep, forgot to mark that as removal. Okay. Just briefly scan this real quick to make sure there's nothing else. Main window.xaml still has button on 39. Oh, we didn't do the Ma apps one. That's probably okay for now. So let's get rid of that button 39 for now because it's not needed. Color zone version. Yeah, so we don't need that either. One. So we could go back through and find the commits and revert, but I think for something smaller like this, probably just as easy to go in and undo the change manually. That handles there. This one we already dealt with. Wait, nope. Where is this? Why is this here? Where did my push go? Is that upstream? Oh, this pushed to the wrong place. Still want these changes. Minor cleanup. Let's see. Do we actually? So if I change the upstream commit, do I have push permissions? All right. So if I send it there, mode upstream not set. Oh, I did just set the upstream. I may not have push permissions to it. Wondering if this is a bad error message. Yeah, it is a bad error message, is my theory. Set upstream, point it back at origin then. Then push it, and then we just need to reopen the PR. So we are going to start a new PR. Go version in demo app. Pull request. And we're going to go update the comments just a little bit because I normally don't do this, but if I don't have pushback permission to the contributors repo, this is an update to pound boom. Right. Update comment. Goes in the next thing. Enable auto merge. From auto merge squash. And then we come down here. 3770. Handled in pound 3770. Boom. Close with comment. Okay. So that'll go there. That'll go there. Then now we can do this and make sure this looks right because this should have covered everything. So white space doesn't matter. That one we don't care about because we looked at. There's the binding. That's a white space change. I don't care. White space change. I don't care. Assembly attribute we looked at. Assembly attribute we looked at. Yarn lock. We aren't using yarn anymore. Let me whack that file as well. View all files. Unlock, delete file, delete, stage all, unlock, commit. Back up to here. Then auto merge is already enabled. Bippity boppity booyah, we're good. Okay. 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 Let's go back to what I said I was going to do a second ago and take a look at that sample one. If I go here, and I go MPIX samples. Pull this up. Good. Okay. Terminal. cd list box. Back and make sure I reread the comment. I get this. Move this into Notepad doc. Okay. I want to make sure I actually get this properly. So two-way binding, list view. So let's not do list box. Let's do list view. I think I have a list. Yeah. cd list view. And then make directory, list view. I select? Yeah, sure, we'll do that. And then .NET new. Let's just do regular WPF, I think. Yeah, because my other project is probably a bit over for what I would like to do. Okay. Open, launch. Yeah, always launch. I launch with project with anything else. Okay, we're gonna do a couple things just really quick right out the gate because I'm going to need them. So MVVM toolkit. Must have my toolkit because the whole point is two-way binding. Yep. Great. And then I would like to grab material design because why not? Okay, great. So we got all the essentials. And then we got to come in here just real quick, because I gotta make sure I get this plugged in. In case anybody's wondering, yes, I do read my own getting started guide because sometimes you need to do it properly. So that goes. Oh yeah, I guess I could look at my own template. That might be just as good in most cases. Right, so I like my assembly infos to look something akin to this. Line 1. Lines 2, 3. And then main window. Is that right? Notice got too many closing tags there. I did wrong. Then main window, I just need to change this style here. And then we're off to the races. Okay, now we're going to need a view model. Let's see, main view model. And I believe what I want to do is I want to save this solution. Yes, that's directory. But then I want to add existing project because I do enough of these samples. I have a utils project with test data in it because I'm way too lazy to gen test data every time. Way too lazy. I'm going to just add a project reference, test data. Right. Perfect. Okay, now we've got our data. All right, so we're gonna file scope the namespace, public the class. We're gonna make it derived from observable object. Observable object. You ever find that there's words that you just can't spell? Observable. Let's see. Another question, is there a better alternative observable collection when working with large data sets? I've already optimized performance by pausing notification and manually triggering the collection changed events after bulk adding items, which helped. However, there's still a noticeable lag when adding around 1 million items. Ooh. Um, no, I will say unlikely. So if you are binding to it, there is. If you are needing to mutate a collection, observable collection is your best bet. However, if you're adding 1 million items to it, it may be a situation where you might want to look at data virtualization so your observable collection doesn't need to have that many items. I'm also hedging slightly because if your data source is coming from something like EF Core, where you've got direct access to the DB context inside of your app, there are options for like the local data sets, but most of the time your app doesn't have direct access to the DB. It's going through like a web API or similar, right? So there is that possible thing. But yeah, if you've got 1 million items in it, that's probably like usually 6 digits is where I start looking at data virtualization opportunities because that's just a lot of objects. Like if you put 1 million even boxed ints into a observable collection, that's a decent chunk of memory that's going out there. Oh, data is local. Oh, okay. Well, hang on. There you may are you using EF Core for your B access? Because there is a this guy. There depending on how you want to do this, there is this local view. Right? So there is a small opportunity here where you can drop in, and for WPF, this view actually has a convenience method for two observable collection. That way, you don't have to deal with basically trying to pull data out of the DB context and shoving it into an observable collection. It will hand an observable collection back to you that it will then be doing the adds and removes to. So it makes your life a little bit easier. Um, and can kind of cut out that middle layer in some cases. The one thing that I'm always real hesitant about, but if you were at 1 million records, you may already be at this point, right? Like most of the time, people will tell you good data structure is you don't expose your model objects, i.e., your database models, all the way up to your UI, right? There should be clear separation between each of the layers, right? Yuck, right? That's nice in principle, not always nice in practice, right? So there is a small hiccup here, right? In that this does mean that you're taking your EF models and exposing them all the way up to something that you're binding to. Because if you're calling two observable collection, you should only be doing this for a collection that you're going to bind to. And if you're doing that, that means that you're sending your model objects all the way to the UI, right? You've got a very leaky abstraction. Might be worth it. Might be worth it. So that might be something worth investigating as well. But again, at 1 million, my initial thought is, wow, that is going to be a lot of data in your working set. Like I imagine when you hit load, you watch your memory just kind of go straight through the roof. Because again, even like 1 million ints is a lot of memory. Yeah, so that might be worth taking a look at. Or again, like I said, look into options for data virtualization, right? Where you don't pull in that many. I mean, that ain't bad, Copilot. You're wrong again, but you're not bad. You're not bad. I guess you're actually further off than I thought. And I think I actually want these to be person. I think that's my. And right after I just finished saying, "Hey, don't do that," we're gonna literally do that, right? So this, and keep me honest to make sure that I'm actually getting getting a sample that looks like your app or otherwise, right? So we're gonna get rid of this. Don't need these fields. Get rid of all that. Get rid of all that. Okay, and I think it's, what is it? Data dot generate something or another. Yeah, generate people. So I want items dot add, or how about items gets. Ooh, we can do this. Oh, good. Let's do 1,000 people. That sounds. What's your problem? You got too many periods there. Uh, can I convert test data person to bogus person? Well, why are you referencing bogus? Using test data. That's the person I want. Don't help me. There we go. Uh, person. Okay, so we got something akin to that, something akin to that. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go here. We're gonna do something like list view, item source, binding items, right? Like that. And then just for just so I can think straight, data context. Let's see, D colon. Nope. Design instance. Design time creatable false. Nope. False. Stop helping me. Type local main window view model. All right, so that should. Oh, X type. Yeah, I understand. I understand. You're unhappy with me because I can't XAML. There. Happier? Right? Now it should give me there. Now I get IntelliSense on that. Yay! Okay. Great. That's all I wanted. Let's see. List view dot item template, right? And so you probably have something akin to this, right? Is selected actually on my person? No, my person does not have is selected on. That would simple and straightforward and right to the point. All right, but we can't do that. We can do data template, right? And then I think we need selection mode. Let's go extended. Here we go. Let's make sure this works first of all before we get too away. And obviously doesn't work because I did not instantiate my view model nor assign it to anything. So that's a big ball of nada. Let's try that again. Data context gets main window view model. One argument for using my WPF thing that actually then, huh? What? Oh, but it has a bunch of people. They just don't have names. Did I just bind to the wrong property? Name. It's on person. First name, last name, of course. Let's see. There we go. I want to be more creative than this. I want to be more creative. We're gonna do this. Let's see. Just because I can. Multi-binding string format. Just so we can show it off. This, right? This will go binding, path, last name. Hey, Copilot, figure it out. No? You're gonna make me actually type? Oh, I'm debugging, so you're probably not running. There. For that. There. So aside from the fact that I missed the space, right? Yeah. That looks like a list of a lot of people, right? And so, for example, if we start up here and select the first couple, right? So I've got 3 selected, and then I go like this and I scroll down, and then I scroll up, I've lost them, right? Selection gone, right? But if I select this one and I just scroll a little ways, right? I'm good, still good. Go down a little further. On the way back up, we've completely lost it, right? Because, oh, no, there we still have it. I apparently got to get further down to actually cause it to lose virtualization. Oh, it held. Did I just make it up when I scrolled down before? Oh, it held. Oh, do I not have standby? I thought List had UI virtualization on by default. Maybe it doesn't. Let's just take a quick gander. All right, so we come in here. Virtualizing stack panel. Yeah, that's the telltale sign of virtualization. You can see there is something there. Right? Oh, stop it. Selected items. All right, so if I do shift click, right, I should have 3 selected items. Right? 1, 2, 3. Great. I'm going to scroll well beyond the virtualization range. As you can see here, if I refresh this, right, like if we open this up, right, dive in, like there's only this many list view items, even though we generated 1,000 people. Probably more items, 1 million. Yeah, we can, but I like the UI virtualization should be on. I don't doubt this thing's probably going to start dragging if we do that, but we can certainly bump this sucker up. Guy down, move this guy down. Generate people. Okay, so 1 million people. Okay, we'll do that just for sanity's sake. So for people who haven't seen it, kind of very seldom used C# feature. Numeric separators. You can pick any character you want as long as you pick underscore. Oh yeah, this is taking a moment, and I think you can guess why. It's it's a big there. It loaded, but yeah, at a cost. But if I do this, right, and I select this, now I haven't bound selected items, and that may be part of the issue, right? It is maintaining the selection. Now, if I click down here, let's actually go to the bottom, right? Click here to here, right? So the bottom 5 are selected. I scroll to the top, it's empty. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Selected items maintained. Okay. Okay. Eisen, I might need a little pointer. So tell me, let me know. So like this is usually where people run into the thing is the wanting the desirable two-way binding on here, right? Because selected items. Oh, I see. So so select if you scroll down. Okay, let's try that real quick. That is a good point. Add to the selected collection and then move around. Should have probably changed up how I was doing that. It wasn't so. We will think for a moment while we watch my little memory just go through. Okay, so if we select the top 3, go to the bottom, select the bottom 3 while holding down control. That's not obvious. Scroll back to the top, has it. The bottom still has it. Interesting. Interesting. The plot thickens. The plot thickens. What I was going to demonstrate, right, is the selection changed event, right? Yeah. So I'll push this project up here when we're done as well. So if you want to play with it, but like so there still is kind of a question here that you asked because you were wanting a two-way data binding for selected items, right? And this is usually where people run into problems. So I can at least highlight that. Right? So if I do you, right? Come on. This is the problem when you name your project's list, the control name, is it loses its mind, right? Because ListView, come on, LV, stop it, selected items, right? So if we go and look at selected items, right, this is usually where people run into problems, right? If selected items is an I list, because remember, generics didn't exist when WPF was invented. Like that wasn't a thing. Generics came out in the same release of .NET as when WPF first launched in 2005. Um, but selected items isn't a dependency uh, property, or I'm gonna be barking up the wrong tree. It's a read-only dependency property, right? So it doesn't go both directions. There, that's where I was going at, right? Get set, right? So we run into, I should say, oh, let's try this, right? So if we come here, and I want to do, let's just dial this down. Let's make our life as easy as possible. Interesting. Okay. So that is interesting. But give me just a second. Let me try a couple things really quick. I would like this to be private because I know I know I've run into similar things before, so I'm not horribly surprised. Just wondering if my setup here is too simplistic. Um, oh, I need you to be partial. Okay, because I want to be able to breakpoint here is what I want. Right, and then if we go here, leave that for the moment. Selected items. I think. I know you said you wanted two-way binding, but bear with me for a moment. Mode one way to source. I think. Yeah, that's there. That's sort of where I was anticipating. This guy doesn't let you bind all the way through. So on yours, Heinzen, were you selected items count go bugged? Selected index. Oh, so you may run into a problem if you're leveraging selected index because selected index is going to reflect the last, if I can get my terminology right. It's going to reflect the index of the last selection event that went into your list view. And I say it that way intentionally because of when you do multi-select with like shift, right? If all you're doing is toggling with the control key, selected index, I would expect to follow with wherever your last selection event was. When you do the shift click, selected index is kind of weird because you end up it can't selected index by definition can only have one value. It can't hold a range. I'm surprised on the selected items there, but let me go in. Yeah, so I think what I've seen a lot of people do, let me just write this out real quick. Public static class list view ex, right? And then we do prop attached, right? And we'll do I list. Uh, nope. I don't know why it's dropping. I'll just write this by hand. Okay. You jerk. You jerk. Okay. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's see. I list. Right. And then we're going to change this from my property to selected items property. Because I feel like I've built something similar to this multiple times. Here, go here, change this to iList. And I'm intentionally picking iList very intentionally for this. And then property metadata, null goes there. Boom. Boom. Right? So we do something akin to this for the moment. We're going to come back to this in just a second. But then typically what you would do is you would do ListView EX. Why does it still think that's my property? Because I didn't fix the name. Go away. There. Selected items, binding, selected items, right? So we effectively want to make this bit of code work, right? Sometimes I will do this where I write the code, get the syntax that I want, and then I just beat everything else into submission until it actually does what I want. Right? So we'll go here. Now if we go back over to our code behind guy, let's just break you out into a new file. Okay. Have a good one, Izzy. See you next week. Okay, so we want to come down here, and what we want to do is watch for the property changed, right? So on selected items changed. Trying to remember where this ends up going. Generate method here, right? Guy goes here. This guy goes here because we need a two-way binding. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where we end up setting this thing to watch it. I think it's here. So if D is list view, Windows roles list view. Right. Let's see. That gets it into there. That gets in there. I can't remember if I did this as a behavior and attached property before. Because what we're looking to do is go with collection changed. Right. And then wrap this sucker up. Okay. Because this gets me to there. This gets me to here. And then we watch selection changed. And in this case, we go if sender is this ugly here, right? We just change this to sender. And then set selected items. And that passes down, or something in that rough vicinity. But that should get me into here and get that to populate. Let's see where we're at. This guy should be nullable. What he's complaining about there. Oh, and actually, in the interest of speed, I'm going to dial this guy back down to 1,000 just for the moment, just so we launch in a mildly reasonable time frame. If I go click, 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 I missed something because clearly selection change fire. Oh, because this, I want the unattached bit of this. I have to watch it from, don't I? That's the piece that I'm missing is the attaching to it. Let's see here. Selection changed. I'm going to just leave this in here for the moment because think the registration may need to happen on the other. So we're just going to go here. Actually, let's just grab this. Paste. I want to see that migrate all the way through, and then I want to whack you. I'm thinking I registered it up on a behavior. I'm sorry, I'm shooting from memory on something that I did like 6 months ago. I ran into something very, very similar. There. Let's see. Step. Selected items has a count of 2. Right? And this goes through here. But it is very likely that what I actually want is, because this is not set up as two-way binding. Framework property metadata. Mine's two-way by default. That's the other bit that I was missing. Because when you make a dependency property, the default mode of your binding is controlled by this property metadata. There we go. Old value null, new value contains 1 item. There we go. Now if I shift click here. Yeah, okay. That is the other one that bites, because now never fires again, despite the fact that the collection is changing. This guy fires, right? But selected items is still the same instance of the collection. And if I remember right, this guy here, there are many one-way solutions with Stack Overflow, but nothing for two-way. Yeah, and I believe I ran it. That's why I think I've seen this before. Selected items get type. I just want to. I have a sinking suspicion. Selected items collection. Let's go. Do selected items. Oh, that's right. Oh, because you don't actually implement it. Okay. Okay. So, this does selection changed. We will need to get the other direct. Okay. See, now I've been nerd sniped into, and now I have to make. Okay. So I have that guy there. We could either watch selection and change the instance, update the underlying, because our just do. So here, we're not gonna fire on the changed here, but this guy's count will certainly be changing, because even though he's not firing, if we open this up and look at him in Snoop, so if I go here and I look at the data context, and I look at selected items.count, there's 8 items, right? If I click here, there's 1 item. Right? Ignore the fact that this thing is clearly lost its mind. I believe if we refresh, does it not clear the items from the collection? No, there's no. No way, right? Selected items. Yeah, count of 1. There. Okay, so there is. Go to 4. Okay, so Snoop is slow to update. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I was gonna say because they're the same instance, they have to have the same values. Okay, okay, world makes sense again. Okay, so let's get this guy. Let's get this guy actually going. Ba-ba-bum, 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 ba-ba-bum. Okay, so we have this. We have that pushing through. Emptively, probably better. Uh, yeah. Let's you. Oh, there. And then we want to go override on attached. Boom, boom, boom. And then we want to do, nope, nope. I can type. Associate object selection changed, right? And then we're going to go here, detaching. Thank you. And then we can do generate method. And then, because I want to get this thing out of the code behind, that it stops biting me. We're going to do this. We're going to actually generate this such that it's reusable. Okay, so that goes like that, that goes like that, that goes like that, that goes like that. Okay. So set selected items, blah, blah, blah. This goes here, this goes here, that goes there. Great, 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 great. Then back over here, get rid of this. Not sure how I feel about this style of attached property, but this ends up becoming I need the behaviors. No, because what is the add ListView EX? The ListView EX. There. Go Copilot. I can't remember the syntax. What is the bloody namespace for the behavior? No, 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 no. This is not helpful. That is not what I asked you to do. Okay. WPF. Just need the. I just need the namespace. That's interactivity. That's the namespace I'm looking for. Thank you. That hard. Really that hard? And then what you want is you want this sucker here. And you put him there. Therefore, we don't do this. Right? We don't do behaviors things. In this case, we're going to go with local. That. And we don't need that. Do need this. We're going to drop this for the moment. This view EX does not contain any accessible constructors. It does, you just don't realize it. We'll make the thing happy. Okay. So output window, what are we unhappy about? Interaction behaviors does not exist in the namespace using Microsoft XAML interactivity. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Go back here. There is XAML behaviors wiki, blah, blah, blah. Normal interactivity. Yes, it exists. There. Build. Okay, I need to get this thing. Start there. Oh, hang on. This thing's using the wrong syntax. That's what it is. DLR namespace. See, the whole reason I went there is to get the interactivity one. Because that is the wrong syntax. Just wanted the interactivity namespace. This is not WPF valid syntax. Where is the happy place? Let's see. That is not helpful. Yep. Yep. I just want the schema in here. Schema Microsoft Expressions 2010 interactivity. Thank you. Ooh, I think we can get away with this one, can't we? There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, let's build, and I think it's going to squawk at the selected items binding because, oh no, it'll play nice. Okay, cool. Ay, ay, ay. That was harder than it needed to be. Thank you, Hazen. Sorry, I just saw the chat. I'm not as dumb as I look. I just need more Mountain Dew. Okay. Boom. Go there. Clear that. Clear that. Clear that. Clear that. Clear that. Okay, so that will monitor that. And now the question is, what do we want to do? We want to trigger an update or force the change? Because I'm mildly tempted. Copy this sucker. Mildly tempted to do that. Yeah, let's. Actually, we can get away with that, I believe, even though it's old. That will cause the property change to fire here because now the on each selection. Okay, so okay, so there. Hold on. Have that. Yep. Oh, because it's got it. Because this guy is setting up here. I can't remember. Does behavior derive from mutable? Yes. Okay, so we don't want this to be attached anymore. So we still want most of this here, but we don't want to set it on the list view. We want to set it on ourselves because that's what the binding is relative to. It's not watching the list view anymore. Owner is still correct. that should get it to go. Yep, yep. Roll click there. Yep, yep. Old value had 1 item, new value has 2 items. Okay, great. Okay, so that gets me into there. Come up here, let's do a couple things. So let's go grid row definitions. We're gonna do, I think, height auto, do row definition, height auto, row definition 1 star. Right, and then we're gonna move you down to grid row 2. Okay, so up above, text block, text, binding, selected items dot count. Right, so let's see, format, selected items, this, and we'll do something like this just so we can display the number of items that are actually selected and we can watch the thing go. Okay, great. Okay, and then you're going to do button, grid row 1, content, select top 10. Command, binding, select top 10, command. That, I think that'll make my life mildly easier. Then in the view model, we'll go with private void on select top 10. Here we'll do relay command. Let's see. So selected items gets items take 10 list. Right. So this will be the direction. Right. So when we click the button, it's going to go and populate other way. Let's see here. So we need to be watching for, this is where we're going to end up needing property changed values on selected item changed. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, and then here, what we're going to end up wanting to do is, let's see, on selected items changed. In this case, this is going to be going to be our dependency object. So ListView EX on D, right? And then behavior dot associated object. There is a selected items. Do you mutate it directly? I can't remember the appropriate way to do it. And it's, I'm just gonna pretend like I'm understanding all this. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I will back up and try to explain. I'm trying to honestly remember the proper way to do this here, because we're also going to need a recursion check because this will bite me if I leave it as is. So behavior. I need to object selected items. I think this is where we're going to end up landing, is somewhere in this vicinity for each of our new item dot new value. Handle the null case because it could be null. Right, new value as I list array dot empty of object. It's really obnoxious because we don't have generics, so we have to play with dumbness. new item. So for now, we're just going to cheat. Private bool, no update. No update gets true. We can't have this thing recursing on ourselves. No update gets false. So there is a small bug. If the property change mutates the collection on the way through, this thing doesn't double check. In reality, we should probably be merging these collections, but for the idea of simplicity at the moment, to just prove it, if behavior dot no update turn there. Okay, let's see. Let's see if this guy works, or at least if we get anywhere close. Okay, so one, as we click items, one selected item, selected, three selected. I probably should put a space in there. That works well enough. Select top 10. That got the top 10 items selected. If I come down all the way to the bottom, I go click, 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 click. Right? That's bound all the way through. Okay, so it's at least working. Space in there. Right, and there we go. 16 selected items. Select top 10. We're now just the top 10 items get selected. All right. That makes me feel a little bit better. This still makes me feel a little yucky in that I should probably be merging the collections rather than just blind clear and replace. So couple things here. Couple things. Like I'll push this here in a minute. That way you can have it and play with it to your heart's content. But so few things that are worth calling out. So this is not an observable collection. This is an iList. So this inside of this view model, this selected items, if you were to do something like this will not work, right? This is operating under the assumption that the entire list for selected items is going to be reset, right? If you wanted to make this work with an observable collection, this property here, this dependency property inside the behavior would need to change to be an observable collection. And on this items changed, you would probably need to type check e.newValue coming in and say something like if e.newValue is I notify collection changed, right? Right, and then inside of here, you'd end up having to register up for the collection changed event, and it adds another layer of change detection that you end up building on top of it. Kind of obnoxious to do. So worth noting that if you want to change it, it is based under the premise that in the view model, it's going to reset the whole collection to a new list instance with the selected items in. Right, so that's worth calling out. The going from the view down is just watching the selection changed event of the list view, capturing the selected items into a new array. This was the first problem that I ran into, is because the selected items instance was the same list instance every time. When you call set selected items, if it's the same instance, it will go, oh, those are equal, and it won't actually trigger the binding to push the value down because the binding's like, this is equal to what I sent before. Why would I push it again? Right? So in this case, we're saying, nah, we'd kind of like to push that down rather than relying on just mutating the underlying collection, which is a thing you could do, right? And if you're at 1,000,000, there's a question to be had of, do you actually want this cloning of objects and pushing it down? In most applications, the number of selected items tends to be small-ish, especially in comparison to the complete set of items. But if you have a sizable number of items that are worth playing with, that could be worthwhile. So just Just be aware of this. The other thing that I would not be surprised to find that may be biting you is if you have something like uh, list view item container style, right? And inside of here, you're binding the is selected of the UI element. That you may be getting bit when the container gets recycled, right? In theory, it should unlink and then deal with it, but you could be dealing with a two-way binding there, messing with it. Whereas in here, I haven't dealt with selection state at all. I'm just watching the selection change event. The other thing to call out, and I think this blog is probably for it. If you are unfamiliar with behaviors inside of WPF, behaviors are just kind of a way to package up stuff that we would normally put in our code behind. Right? So before I was registering up for the selection changed event in my main window code behind, which is fine. And if the only place you ever intend to do this is in one spot, code behind is just fine. Right? Code behind is not a bad thing. Some people get hung up on MVVM and never touching their code behind. It's okay to use the code behind. If you're doing view level stuff, use the code behind. That's what it's there for. A behavior is just a way to say, well, I've got this code behind logic that I want to use in other list views, not just this one. And I'd like to put that in a nice little reusable thing that I can attach elsewhere. That's all a behavior is. It's just a reusable chunk of code that you would otherwise put in your code behind, but it wraps it up in a nice little package that you can then use in your XAML to just blindly attach it to other things. Right? So it's a convenient wrapper way of doing it so that you have something nice and pretty to play with. Right? I think did I miss anything? So behavior, copy the selected items. I'm also not like this no update is kind of yucky to me, right? It bothers me that, and actually I'm not confident I need it actually. Get rid of this for a moment and test this because I was worried about infinite recursion. I don't know that it's actually going to be a problem because the binding will be, oh, nope, there it goes. Yep, there's the Stack Overflow. Okay, so it does overread. Because it passes down a value. This triggers selection changed, and this thing blindly clears. Because that's kind of the problem, is because while this is running, actually, you know what we could do instead? I don't like state flags. State flags give me the heebie. Um, because every time I've used a state flag for something, I always get a bug where the flag is incorrect, and it always bothers me. Go with this route. Just unregister from the event while we're in the process of setting it. Then we don't infinitely recurse, right? There. That makes me feel much better. That makes me feel a lot better. There, get rid of that. Don't need that, and then this guy doesn't need to pay attention to that. And it's just put a comment here. Unregister to avoid Stack Overflow. So because we're mutating this guy, we just unregister for events, so we aren't watching it at the time. We set the value, let that push all the way through, and then we re-register ourselves back up looking for more stuff. That feels a little better. So certainly performance stuff. This is another area of performance potential problem, potential performance bottleneck. If you have a significant number of selected items, blindly clearing and re-adding them every time is way over. Right? So if you say, oh, I'm going to have 10,000 selected items, it may be worth the logic to iterate through this list and figure out the deltas between the new items and the old ones and go, well, maybe we don't just blindly clear everything out. We see if the item is still supposed to be selected and just do adds and removes rather than a clear and add. This is just a quick and dirty approach. Okay. Adding example with way selected list view items. Boom. It. Double check. I just want to make sure I structure that properly. Solution inside. Yeah. Good, good, good. Push. So if you are interested, view on GitHub. I realize I probably messed up and should have added it to the main solution on the outside, but then I'd have to compile all that. Meh. It feels good. So there is that. If you want to play with it, um, you know if it aligns with what you were doing or if it's. I realize my samples are oftentimes very simplistic to show one simple thing, and more complex apps sometimes have extra variables that may not be obvious right away. So if it doesn't align perfectly, you can always feel free to open an issue on that examples repository. I don't all like some things in here I just don't update because they're designed to be kind of point in time examples of how you did things at a particular state. But yeah, something like that. If there's an issue or it doesn't match your sample, just let me know. Cool. That guy goes there. That guy goes there. There. Good question though. Yeah, yeah, certainly let me know. Okay. I think with that, I may dial it off. I feel exhausted. I've been doing a bunch of home remodeling projects, and so it turns out I am uniquely built to sit at a desk and type on a keyboard, doing things like hanging sheetrock and putting up studs, running nail guns. It turns out that's hard labor, um, and it's kind of exhausting when you aren't used to doing it. So that could just be me. But with that, I will tell everybody happy coding. As always, thank you all for coming and hanging out. Love the questions, love the interaction. Always good. So we'll see everybody next week, same time.